Okay, I am starting more or less on time for once. Yay! Okay, welcome back to the Impact review. And let me know if you can hear me in the chat room. I've gotten pretty paranoid about the audio screwing up. Just sound off. Let me know in the comments if you can hear me, and then we'll get started. And hopefully my throat will shit. Hopefully my voice will hold out this time. Okay. Okay, good. Let's go. So, close out of this. There we go. All right. Week 2 of the Bound for Glory playoffs is in the books, and I think it was a marked improvement over last week. My complaint about the round 1 matches was that the matchups felt random, there was no real story being told with them, and the whole thing felt very telegraphed, because it looked like the finals were already being set up for EC3 and Drew Galloway. All that stuff got addressed here. We had 2 semifinal matches this week, and immediately my complaints are rectified. First, EC3 versus Matt Hardy. It's not a random matchup. It's 2 guys with a lot of history, so there's a story there. And while you think EC3 is going over this time, the fact that there is that history and it plays into their previous feud with Matt, the previous feud with Matt gave more weight to it. And also, there was the story with Matt and Jeff going on at the same time, and while the match itself probably was not the best match these guys have had, those other elements did add enough for me to be invested in this one. And EC3 beat Matt this time, which is very good. Thankfully. I think it's ridiculous that Matt is still protected so much that it couldn't be a clean victory, but again, that's the storyline with Jeff coming into play. I wasn't so crazy about the promo segment before the match, however. It was leaning towards comedy a little too much for me. I know making fun of Matt's bizarre facial expressions must be hard to resist, but the character is so unintentionally ridiculous already, I don't know if shining a light on how ridiculous it is for a quick laugh is the way to go, even though it was actually pretty funny. And then Matt says he's going to eat EC3's cats. And that's why EC3 was going to kick his ass this time. Not because of all the shit that Matt pulled on EC3 a few months ago, but because he had the audacity to bring Skunk and Clover into this. I know it's really hard to take this broken Matt character seriously, but they went a little overboard with the comedic stuff here. But like I said, everything that happened in the match was much improved over the round 1 stuff. And I can still hear this. Hang on. Let me get rid of these. Put that down here. Maybe that'll help. Similar situation with the other semifinal match between Mike Bennett and Drew Galloway. That's much better. This one legitimately swerved me. They had done so much to set up Drew and EC3 being the final match in the tournament, and that had started a while before the tournament with these guys having a growing problem with each other, so I thought, this'll be where it finally comes to a head. Instead, they just go for further escalation. Drew tells EC3 not to interfere, but when the interference goes down, EC3 tries to help Drew out because it's Mike Bennett, and EC3's got a big issue with that guy too, so he tries to stop Bennett and moves from screwing Drew over, and it backfires. Bennett ends up winning anyway. And looking back on it now, that was definitely the right way to go. You couldn't have Bennett lose because he just brought in Moose as his muscle. A loss would have made them both look bad. And Drew is protected because of the way he lost. It increases the tension between him and EC3, and it sets up the finals as the big rubber match between EC3 and Mike Bennett, which has easily been the best feud in this company this year. What's more, I continue to be impressed with how this EC3 Drew Galloway storyline is playing out. They're both babyfaces, but through a series of miscommunications and misunderstandings, they're going to legitimately want to tear each other to pieces when they finally go at it. And it's all totally understandable. It doesn't feel manufactured or cheap or anything. And I suspect this might be setting up a Galloway heel turn too. And if that happens, I think that will also be a good thing. Continuing with the matches for now, we also had TNA continuing their efforts to completely burn their audience out on every single gimmick match they have, because this week we had another Monsters Ball and an impromptu ladder match. Now, in my opinion, that's the kind of thing that just should not be impromptu. On general principles, you should try to hype that up first to get the audience excited about it. Because if it's a match you can just pull right out of your ass, like it's not a big deal, it's going to come off that way. And when the time comes that you really want the fans to get excited about a ladder match or whatever, then it's going to be a lot harder to do. Because now they've been conditioned to think it's just an everyday occurrence. But as impromptu matches go, this could have been done a lot worse. You know, we saw the in-ring debut of Moose against, I think it was David Starr, correct me if I'm wrong about that. And Moose just flattened that poor bastard. Pretty effective squash match there to introduce Moose as a wrestler. And then Lashley comes out to confront Moose. And I'm so glad they're not playing the chicken shit card with Lashley, like you so often see with heels in WWE. Like Rollins. They pull that shit with Seth Rollins constantly. But no, Lashley ain't like that. You know, Moose tried to take him out, so he wants to kick Moose's ass. You know, he's actively seeking Moose out because he wants to fight this guy. But then, of course, Mike Bennett has to pull a Stephanie McMahon where he's like, you want to see that match? Oh, you guys want to see that match? You want to see Moose versus Lashley? Well, too bad it's not going to happen. So we'll have to wait a while for that one. Which is fine. You know, build up to it for a while. Do it on a big show. That's good. That's what you're supposed to do. But it did get Lashley out there, who was then confronted himself by DJZ. And I really like this too. DJZ pointed out that Lashley is not an X Division guy, showing that the writers are conscious of that at least. And DJZ showed a lot of guts here, getting in the face of the Destroyer. It almost gave me a glimmer of hope that they might be thinking of elevating DJZ beyond the X Division, like they once did with AJ and Joe and Aries and guys like that, because they think he's good enough to be more. And I hope that's the case, because I think DJZ is good enough to be one of those people. So again, you have Lashley not being a chicken shit, letting DJZ choose any match he wants for his X Division title shot. Unfortunately, I think they made DJZ look kind of stupid for not choosing an Ultimate X. Because, you know, if there's any kind of match that would give him a real advantage, it would be the Ultimate X. A ladder match is still something that benefits the more agile guy, but as we saw, it also benefits the stronger guy, with Lashley doing these crazy spots, like picking up the ladder with DJZ on top of it, press slamming DJZ while they're both on top of the ladder. DJZ just goes crashing down to the bottom. Jesus Christ. To his credit, DJZ did some really cool stuff too, like diving off the ladder to the floor. Really impressive match. This was something that deserved to be hyped up and not treated like an impromptu thing that gets thrown out there randomly. And even though DJZ lost, he still had a great showing against Lashley, and when the time comes, I hope DJZ is the guy who takes the X Division title from him. I think DJZ deserves that. He's been on a terrific hot streak lately, and it seems like the company is finally getting behind him. I think this could be DJ's year to become a real breakout star for the company if they don't drop the ball on him. If being the operative word there. And then we got the Monsters Ball, because TNA just can't seem to go more than a couple weeks without doing a fucking Monsters Ball. We had the Decay, sans Rosemary for now, defending the tag titles against the Bromance. Again. You know, the match started during the commercial break. I don't like it when that happens. Also, they had to bring out fucking Janice again, and I facepalm every single time that happens. And of course, nobody got hit with Janice, because that's just what happens, unless someone is wearing a shirt to hide the fact that they've got their midsection heavily protected, so they can get hit with it and not die. But there were some nice things here. You know, Abyss went through the barbed wire board, or table, or whatever it was. Crazy Steve took the Bromance's finisher on thumbtacks. Jesse fell off the turnbuckle through a table on the floor. That stuff was cool. But the story told here was just another example of why the bromance being babyfaces is just completely ill-conceived and awkward as hell. They have Raquel interfere in the match and cheat for them. Low-blowing Abyss. Not against the rules in a no-DQ match, granted. But still, it's the supposed babyfaces who have their valet interfere to help them win, and it's the Decay, the guys who are supposed to be the heels, the people we're supposed to be booing, who power through that interference and win the match clean. So who the hell are we supposed to root for in this situation? The Bromance are the faces, they're supposed to be the faces, but they're the ones who are cheating. What's more, if you look at this entire feud overall, the Bromance have done just as much, if not more, underhanded stuff than the Decay have, especially lately with that peeping Tom garbage, and now this? This is why the Bromance's babyfaces just doesn't work. They're douchebags. Why do you think anyone is going to cheer for them? Why would anyone want to cheer for them? I don't get it. I don't understand. Even without Rosemary, Steve and Abyss come off way cooler than they do. Having said that, I do still really hope that Rosemary ends up back with the Decay when this Bram storyline is over, because they do definitely lose something without her. You know, a lot of that mystique is gone. And like I said before, Rosemary is the linchpin that makes the Decay so compelling. Without her, it's not the same. Still better than the Bromance, though. Speaking of Rosemary, wow, this is... We're getting into some weird territory here. This angle with her and Bram is getting downright bizarre. I love the focus on character development for Rosemary. I like the way these segments were produced and filmed. Again, we see the production team going outside their normal comfort zone, and the results are really interesting. The production was cool. Nice editing job there. Rosemary, once again, absolutely kills it with her performance, but we all expect that by now. But this backstory for her is strange, man. There's an incident where her mother killed her cat. A lot of cat hate on this show for some reason. What's that about? There's a talking tree, which may or may not be Rosemary's long-lost brother, who may or may not have been into witchcraft. A guy named Johnny, who may or may not have raped Rosemary or something, and some weird, secret, disturbing shit that happened in a barn that was the cliffhanger for this. Okay. You know what? I have no idea what's going on or where this is headed, but I'm genuinely creeped out right now. I'm interested to see what happens. Yeah, this was a lot like the final deletion, where you might not be sure what to make of it, you might not even be sure if it's good or bad, but it's by far the most memorable thing that happens on the show. You know, they went really far outside the box with this stuff. I don't know if it's going to work, but I really want to see what happens next. I mean, anything involving Rosemary tends to be very compelling because she is that good of a performer. She is that charismatic. And this is no different, even if it is, by its nature, very different. So, alright, TNA writers, you got me. I'm intrigued. Let's see where this goes. Let's find out what happens in that barn. God only knows. Moving on, we had another installment in The Fact of Life with your illustrious host and King of the Mountain champion, Eli Drake. And the interplay between him and James Storm is very reminiscent of EC3 and Mike Bennett, in that I almost don't want them to fight for a while because their promos are so entertaining together, and I just want to see more of those. And this was no exception. They just bounce off each other so well. It's awesome. But the direction this went in gave me a bad feeling, because it seems like they're setting up for Eli Drake to lose the King of the Mountain title, and that would be a terrible decision, because I'm just starting to care about his title reign. It doesn't feel like an afterthought. He makes you care about him keeping the title or losing the title, despite him not even being booked all that well. And he's pretty much the first King of the Mountain champion since that belt was rechristened the King of the Mountain title who's been able to do that. The worst thing they could possibly do is take it off him. Eli Drake needs to be a long-term champion, have good feuds, establish that belt as a fucking viable mid-card championship that a lot of people want, and then, after he's held it for a good couple of months at least, after he's gotten people salivating for someone to beat him for it, then you take the title off him. That's what's going to make that belt mean something. But don't do it now when he's just starting to get traction. He hasn't even held the damn thing that long. I do like that we have an actual feud for the title instead of just being an accessory for someone. You know, like Eric Young when he was losing multiple matches to Jeff Hardy, and Jeff never said a word about actually wanting a title shot or anything. We've seen a lot of that. So James Storm even says that the King of the Mountain champion is first in line for the world title. Not sure where he got that from. That's the way it would be ideally if it was a real and viable mid-card title, but it's not because TNA haven't bothered to make it one yet. That's the whole point. It becomes that only after you put in the work, and you can't put in that work if you're constantly hot potatoing the title from one person to another without ever giving anyone a long and meaningful run with it. That's why Eli Drake needs to keep that fucking title. Because hot-shotting it onto someone else, again, doesn't do anything for anyone. It doesn't help anybody, and it doesn't help the title either. Unfortunately, they've just created a situation where James Storm pretty much has to win the title now because Eli Drake makes this stipulation where if he beats Storm, then Storm can't drink beer anymore and can't ride the Boozer Cruiser or use his music and all that stuff. So either Eli Drake loses the title way too soon, just when he's starting to make people give a shit about it, or James Storm loses his entire identity that makes people give a shit about him. It's a lose-lose situation, and goddammit, this is exactly why I was afraid would happen when this feud started. You got two guys who both need to be getting wins right now, and one of them is going to have to lose and be damaged because of it. Really entertaining segment here, but I'm very afraid that the next match is just going to end up shooting one of these guys in the foot. And then we have our knockouts match. We have Gail Kim versus Madison Rayne. Gail Kim wins. So Madison's heel turn last week was for absolutely nothing. So even though they already had a mismatch with a lot of heel knockouts and not enough faces, they took one of the few faces they did have and turned her heel just so they could feed her to Gail 1 week later, as if Jane Cena really needs to be fed at this point. Whatever. I really don't care to watch Gail bury everyone in the knockout division on the road to a 6th title reign that she doesn't need. Call me when the knockouts do something interesting. And by that I mean, call me when a knockout not named Gail Kim is getting a fucking push for a change. And that was Impact. I was jumping around a lot here, not going chronologically, but that was the show. There were a few things I took issue with, but overall, I think this was a much better Impact than last week, which I was kind of middle of the road on. And they set up a couple things for next time that I'm genuinely looking forward to. EC3 Mike Bennett, the next chapter in this Rosemary backstory thing. They seriously need to cool it with the gimmick matches, though. They tend to be pretty good most of the time, but it's just too fucking much, you guys. If you have to do one of these things, at least try to make them feel special when they happen. When you just throw them out there randomly, you're not doing the wrestlers or the show any favors. And you're just going to burn people out on the match that much quicker. And that was my review of Impact from July 28th. Now let's go to the Peanut Gallery. Let's see. What do you think of the new era BS that officially started with this week's Raw and SmackDown? Didn't a new era start after Bryan won the title at WrestleMania 30 or something? How many new eras do they have? Yeah, you kind of put the nail on the head there. The whole new era thing is bullshit. Basically, they're recycling an old idea with the brand split, and they're bringing up some people from NXT, which they do every year after WrestleMania anyway. So when you get right down to it, they're really not doing anything they wouldn't do normally. Okay, the brand split is something we haven't seen in a while, but it's still an old idea. The new era, it's bullshit. It's a marketing tactic. That's all it is. Just like it's now SmackDown Live instead of SmackDown, because they want everyone to know that it's live now. It's a marketing gimmick. The new era, it's new era. It's all smoke and mirrors, you guys. What's your thoughts on Brie Larson as Captain Marvel? You know, I saw that coming. She was supposedly the front runner for a while. It's not a bad choice. And she's a fucking Oscar winner. You know, she'll do a good job. I just really wanted Emily Blunt. Because Emily Blunt was always my first choice for Captain Marvel. I thought she was the best choice. And I'm not saying Brie Larson's a bad choice. She's not. But, yeah, when I think Captain Marvel, I think Emily Blunt. That's all I'm saying. At least Madison is the one girl Gail can beat and it won't hurt anything. Yeah, pretty much. Because Madison is pretty much on the bottom rung of the ladder in the knockout division right now. So, I mean, you can beat her and it won't really damage her because she can't fall any further than she is right now. I mean, they barely use her as it is. And it's been that way for a while. The last time she was really doing anything was the Beautiful People Dollhouse feud. And she was kind of not doing much of anything before that, too, for a while. So you can't really damage Madison anymore. So you can beat her and it won't hurt anyone. But fortunately, now they're going to go up the ladder. And Gail is going to beat people that will be damaged by taking those losses. And that's one of the problems with Gail Kim. When she beats somebody, those losses tend to be very damaging to other people. I believe she was the first person to beat Sienna. And Sienna should have gone into Slammiversary undefeated. I'm sorry. That was ridiculous. Every time she beats someone, it tends to cut off their momentum just when they're gaining some. Of course, there was that regrettable period last summer when she was beating the Dollhouse in handicap matches. Beating Jade in handicap matches, which is fucking ludicrous. Oh, I still maintain that Jade has not completely recovered from that. And that was very damaging to Jade once she went off on her own. And why I thought she won the title a little bit too soon. I was like, you haven't built her up enough. I still remember her taking those losses to Gail last summer. You need to make her look stronger and stuff. But, that's Gail Kim. Because she's so protected that they want to keep her looking strong at the expense of everyone else. And I know Gail is great, but it's time to start thinking about the future. Because Gail's talking retirement, and the focus should be on building up these new girls so they can carry the division once she leaves. And it doesn't seem like they're interested in doing that. It seems like they just want to push Gail like Superwoman until the day she retires, and then there's no real plan for what happens after that. So over Gail Kim, she's making me not care to see knockout matches. And I hate to say it, but I'm kind of in the same boat. I just want to see the other girls get a push now. I'm tired of Gail Kim. She's had enough pushes, for Christ's sake. I feel bad for Sienna. She's the champ, and she barely appears on TV. And since the knockout matches are pretty short on Impact, her best match to date was against Gail at one night only. Yeah, she's fallen into the same trap that Jade's title reign fell into. It's like she might be the champion, but all the focus is still on Gale. So she takes a backseat, and her title reign comes off like an afterthought because of it. Because Gale just won't step out of the goddamn spotlight. Let's see. Rosemary's segments were interesting and creepy. I just hope that this angle goes somewhere and it's not just something to turn her face. I don't know. I always saw her and the Decay like as more as tweeners. I mean, they definitely seem more baby face like, or they're definitely more easy to cheer than the bromance are. So I never saw them as heels technically. They're just more like tweeners who want to mow down everything in their path, be they faces or heels. I expect that'll continue, really. That was probably the worst Monsters Ball I've ever seen, including the one with the knockout. Seriously, no hype, no mention prior to start, no reason for it to be happening, random-ass match. Yeah, it's part of the problem. They've done so many of these goddamn things now that they don't feel special anymore. They don't bother hyping them up or announcing them prior. They just do them randomly. And they don't feel special. They just feel really run-of-the-mill occurrences that happen way too damn often. So all the mystique of the Monsters Ball is gone now. And I thought that the Monsters Ball had been replaced by Valley of Shadows. Apparently not. I don't know what that was about. Your Valley of Shadows is basically just a Monsters Ball with the lights turned down. You know, I prefer it this way, because at least this way I can see it. I don't know what Valley of Shadows was supposed to be. What are your thoughts on Raw with Sasha Banks winning the women's title and Finn Balor debut and winning the number one contender spot for the Universal Championship? I think Universal Championship is a really stupid name, but it's I guess it's universal, so that means it's bigger than the World Championship, because they always got to one up Smack. You always got to show that SmackDown is inferior to Raw somehow. That's on Raw. You know, I dozed off for a lot of Raw, which tends to happen more and more lately. It's weird that they did the title change to Sasha on Raw instead of saving it for SummerSlam, which is what I thought they should do. I understand it because I guess they wanted to kick off this new era Raw with a bang and do something unexpected. So I don't think it's a huge deal. And I guess Sasha was the person to switch the belt to. I don't really see what the hype is all about with Sasha, but I know I'm in the minority on that. Finn Balor debut, great start to Finn Balor on the main roster. 2 matches and he's already, going for the world title. I don't expect him to win, but it's a big spot to put him in, throwing him in the deep end, see if he can swim. I think they could have done more to introduce him to people who don't watch NXT. Time will tell if this push continues or if he just winds up being Neville'd. Because what's Neville done since he joined the main roster? Nothing. He's a place filler in 6-man tags. They've already given up on him. So, I don't know. A good start for Finn Balor, but let's see if it continues, If this Rosemary thing does not end up with Bram getting ambushed by the Decay, I will be disappointed. You never know. I don't think that's where it's going, although I have no idea where it is going. I really don't know. I wonder if they put Rosemary with Bram to see if Rosemary could work the same black magic that she works on the Decay. Which says a lot, says that they think very highly of Rosemary and her abilities. I I still hope that she ends up back with the Decay, because I think they need her to preserve their mystique. So I don't know. I do like Bram. I don't know if I necessarily like Bram with Rosemary, because I don't think there's the same chemistry there that there is with her and Steve. In fact, I'm pretty sure there isn't. But the storyline is interesting for now, so I'm reserving judgment until I see where it goes. Gail Kim fans wanting Gail to become Knockouts champ yet again must not care about the Knockout division so long as their hero Gail wins the title and is the focus of the division. Yeah, that's what it's come down to. It's like it's Gail versus the Knockouts, like Gail versus the division. Because supporting Gail means that you're against the division, because what's best for Gail is not what's best for the division anymore. Because they've kind of elevated Gail above the entire Knockout division. She's not helping it anymore, she's just helping herself. Thoughts on the Universal Championship. I think it's a goofy title. It's a goofy name for a title. So what's next? Are they going to introduce a new women's championship for SmackDown and call it like the Galactic Women's Championship? Or like the the Interdimensional Women's Championship or something? Because that's better than Universal, you know? Because now we're talking about multi-universes and all that shit. It's like, Christ. It's goofy and I don't like it. I love how Lashley agrees to any challenge laid out to him without ever thinking about it. He's like, fine, whatever, I'll destroy you anyway. As we, yeah, I like that a lot. Because the chicken shit heel trope is such an overused concept. Like I said, they do that with Seth Rollins so fucking much. Like, he gets a segment all to himself to talk about how much he wants a world title shot. Then Dean Ambrose comes out and says, okay, I'll give you a world title shot right now. And then Rollins is like, no, I don't want it. I don't want it anymore. This is what you came out to ask for, and now you suddenly don't want it? For fuck's sake. Now, Lashley doesn't do that stuff. Somebody challenges him to a fight, he wants to fucking fight that guy. It's very refreshing. As we've seen in recent Ultimate X matches, you can use ladders without any consequences, so it really doesn't matter. Man, I really don't like that. You know, once upon a time, there was like this unwritten rule that you don't use ladders in the Ultimate X. And when 3D used a ladder in an Ultimate X, it was a really big deal, and it was a source of, oh, those bastards! They broke the unwritten code of the Ultimate X. You know, they're despicable heels. I hate Team 3D so much. And then later on, Jeff Hardy used a ladder in an Ultimate X, and we were supposed to cheer him for it. And now it's like commonplace all of a sudden. And nobody says dick about it anymore. I don't like that. I think it was just more to just dilute the Ultimate X and just make it seem more mundane and stuff. And I don't think they know how to present that right anymore. Just take the ladders out of it, please. Thank goodness Decay beat the Bromance, which means more matches versus the Bromance. Yeah, probably. And DJZ looked impressive against Lashley. Eli Drake clowning on Storm was funny as hell. Yeah. Eli Drake's jug of water is more over than the Bromance. Matt Hardy is getting more bizarre each and every week. He has recently posted a video from his room of obsolescence where he's apparently setting people on fire and eating them or some shit like that. Seriously? Haven't seen that. Wow. Let's see. Rosemary is getting much more screen time than the guys she's managing. Who are the tag team champions, by the way? That tells you everything you need to know about the tag team division right there. I think it's more about Rosemary just being an incredibly compelling performer and the writers wanting to give her more screen time. I mean, if you think character-wise, is Rosemary a more compelling character than Steve and Abyss? Yeah. Steve has gotten a lot better since the heel turn. But Rosemary is the more interesting character, let's be honest. Is she more interesting than Bram right now also? Yeah, she is. I don't think that's I'm not speaking ill of those guys. I'm just saying Rosemary is more interesting, and that's why she gets focused on. Because more often than not, she's the one you're paying attention to, and if you put everybody in a room, you're like, her, I'm watching her. She's doing all the interesting stuff. But you're not wrong about the tag team division. It does need a lot of work. What do you think the twist will be in the Rosemary story? I have no idea. I wonder if somehow... Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the Montgomery thing will come into play. Like, Montgomery will turn out to be a person somehow. Maybe she thinks Bram is somehow Montgomery. I don't know. I honestly, I really don't know. Or maybe Steve is Montgomery. Beats the hell out of me, man. I have no idea where it's going, and I actually really like that. Because for the life of me, I cannot predict what's going to happen next. And it's not often I can say that about wrestling. Just like others are saying on the Madison versus Gale match video, fail Kim ruins everything. Are they saying that? I'm going to go look at those comments now. It just seems like more and more fans are turning against Gale. And it's almost quaint how clueless Dixie Carter seems to be about that. She keeps promoting this on Twitter, like, watch Gale on her road to the title, and on her road to the Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Gale, on all your accomplishments, and just talking up Gale so much, and it's like, Dixie, all the fans are turning against her. More and more people are saying they don't like this. And she just doesn't get it. She seems completely clueless about that. If she was smart, she'd be downplaying Gail Kim. Jesus Christ. I know she's going into the Hall of Fame, but it's happening at a bad time. There's a lot of enmity that's in the fan community that's building up against Gail, and it's just a lot of people are starting to resent her because of the way the TNA just pushes her endlessly. And it's like TNA just don't understand that for some reason. Are you excited for Finn Balor versus Seth Rollins? Hell yeah. Of course. Do they not know that they are making the heels in the knockout division come off as faces and making Gale come off as a selfish heel? I guess not, because it's Gale. Everybody loves Gale. Shaking my head. Yeah, honestly, I don't think they care. I really don't think they care that much. I've said this before, but I'll reiterate here. If they lost Gail Kim for whatever reason, I don't think they'd have any idea what to do with the knockouts. It seems like Gail is the only one they really, truly care about. And everyone else is just a vehicle to put her over somehow. Even on those rare occasions when someone actually does get a pin on Gail, the win is invalidated. Like it only happened because there was interference when Gail was about to win the match. Or something like that. And the win is just swept under the rug, and it ultimately means nothing. And Gail, isn't. Sometimes Gail won't even mention it again, or the win is just forgotten about. That's what happened when Rosemary beat Gail. That's what happened when Sienna beat Gail twice. No, because God forbid we make Gail look weak for any reason, even if that reason is to put over somebody else. No, they won't have it. So yeah, it does make Gail look like she's selfish. Um, uh, I did not expect Drew to lose at all. Neither did I. Hopefully, they will come up with something less predictable than Drew costing EC3 the title at Bound for Glory, since I highly doubt that Bennett's going to win this thing. It's a good question. I think they could, if EC3 goes to the finals, or wins the finals rather, maybe they could have EC3 win the title at Bound for Glory, only to then go on to feud with a heel Drew Galloway, because they're saving that match for some reason, and Drew seems like he's moving towards a heel turn. Maybe they'll just frustrate Drew until he finally snaps. I think that would be a good thing for him, actually. Or they could have him cost EC3 the title. Who knows? Yeah, there's a couple different ways that could go. Let's see. And both shows are the same thing. A show with no story, no character development, nothing to make me invest in what they're doing. Referring to Raw and SmackDown Live. Yeah, pretty much. Lack of character development is a big thing, too. Like Charlotte, for example. Like she kicks her dad out because she doesn't want to. She's sick of being in his shadow, and she wants him to be in her shadow now. And says she doesn't need him anymore, and yet she's still using the music that's like sampled from Rick's old music. And then she takes fucking Dana Brooke as her new sidekick and has Dana basically do everything that Rick did for her. So it's the same thing. You say, oh, I don't need you anymore, but I need Dana Brooke, who'll do everything for me that you do. The whole thing, both shows are full of stuff like that, man. These writers do not understand character development at all. And I'm not saying TNA is perfect in that regard, but at least they seem like they're trying to do character development. And right now, I think they're more successful at it than WWE is at the moment. By the way, Bennett and Moose are highly needed in the tag team division. There is literally nobody else that can take the titles from the Decay at the moment. You know, that's actually a very good point. The weird thing about the tag team division is it could be so much better than it is right now. They wouldn't even have to really sign anybody because there are a number of teams they could put together from the existing roster that actually be really good teams that would make this tag division so much better. There's Trevor Lee and Andrew Everett, Rockstar Spud and Mandrews, and now, hey, Mike Bennett and Moose, that's another one. Your two out of those three are not doing anything right now. Mike Bennett and Moose, you can argue that they're kind of needed where they are, but Spud and Mandrews aren't doing anything. They've never even been a team. I don't know why they haven't been a team. It makes so much sense for them to do. The two guys who won British Boot Camp. Put them together and make a tag team. We've seen them work together before. They worked great. Make them a tag team. It writes itself. Okay, Trevor Lee and Andrew Everett aren't doing anything in the X Division right now. Make them a tag team. We've seen them work as a team before. It makes sense to do. Either one of those teams would be better opposition than the fucking Bromance for the Decay. I don't know why this hasn't happened yet. Let's... Ooh, let's my place again. Looks like Bound for Glory is going to be on October 2nd, but they're staying in the Impact Zone, unfortunately. Oh, man. Well, at least they moved off of the 9/11 date. I don't know why they thought that was going to be a good idea, but they left. That's good. It's still going to be in the impact zone, though. Man, I mean, didn't they bring on like new investors to buy into the company because they wanted more money to work with? Where's all that money going if they're just going to shoot the pay-per-view in the damn impact zone? Now, you could make the argument that they wouldn't be able to draw a big crowd for Bound for Glory if they went to another venue, but still, get anywhere but the fucking impact zone, man. That is depressing. And are they even going to make the attempt to make the impact zone look different? Like, change the ring ropes, change the ring apron, decorate the set, do something. Please just do anything but the normal impact set. It's depressing. I don't know where all the money's going. I love the talent in the knockout division, but they aren't using Rosemary or Allie wrestling-wise at all, which is stupid, and is why we aren't seeing anything new match-wise. Well, we've got Sienna in there to change things up a little bit, and she's been there a matter of weeks. And I would argue that the point of Rosemary and Ellie being used the way they are is to get over their characters first, and in that capacity, I think it's been very successful. Rosemary is one of the best characters on this show every fucking week. And Allie, I think, is incredibly charming in the role she's got right now. You see her in that backstage pre-tape with Madison, where she taps her on the shoulder like, attention, attention. She's just got to say the fucking line. Even when she's not trying to get it over, she's doing it just to irritate people now. It's actually pretty funny. Even Maria's getting annoyed with it. And sure, I wish they were using her as a wrestler to her full capacity so she could wrestle like she wrestles as Cherry Bomb. I don't know why they have her wrestling, playing a character that is not an experienced wrestler, but she's taking it and she's making it work for her. I love what Allie's doing. She's super entertaining. And I love what Rosemary's doing. And when the time is right, I'm sure that they will be a part of, they will join the knockout division. I hope it's soon. I hope they're going to be, though I hope it won't be so soon that they get put in Gail Kim's path of destruction. I'd like them to be removed from that. But yeah, maybe sometime soon they'll be able to use them. They'll use them more as wrestlers, and I want to see that. I want to see Rosemary versus Allie. I want to see that feud on TV. Because that is the best feud in women's wrestling right now is Courtney Rush and Cherry Bomb in Smash Wrestling, and I want to see that feud on TV now. But yeah, I'm not incredibly bent out of shape that they're not being used more as wrestlers right now, because at least what they're doing as characters is really interesting to me. I do want to see them wrestle more though. Let's see. With Gail on her burying quest of the knockout division, what will Jade be doing? I wonder if they might have removed Jade from that situation too. Because Jade said to Maria last week that she wasn't going to be involved in this and wasn't going to take part in the, whoever takes out Gail Kim gets rewarded thing. So maybe they removed her from that situation too, so maybe she won't have to get... maybe she won't be in the path of Gail Kim and her trusty shovel. I hope that's the case, because I don't want to see Jade have to take another loss to Gail. But to answer your question, I don't know. Maybe they're going to draw out the feud with Marty a while longer, even though they said it was over. So that's a good question. Two dumb matches, if you ask me. I don't see how Dean Ambrose versus Dolph Ziggler and Finn Balor and Seth Rollins are going to sell SummerSlam. That's actually, that's a good point. Nobody buys Dolph Ziggler as a top guy anymore. Guy loses constantly. He's been losing for a long time. They've turned him into a mid-carder who is now being brute forced into a world title match. Nobody thinks for a second he's going to win. Even if he does win, it's going to feel ridiculous. And Finn Balor just debuted. Yeah, it's cool to see him in a spot like this, but he's an untested draw. We don't know if people are going to buy, if casual fans are going to buy a pay-per-view to see Finn Balor. The guy just debuted. And I'm talking by casual fans, I'm talking about people who don't watch NXT. You know, they're going to see a guy who's been on been on Raw for one show, and already he's in this huge spot at SummerSlam. They're going to be like, who the hell is this guy? You know? Not saying it won't work. I'm just saying it's a risk. Because the guy's an untested draw. And it's not a sure thing to sell SummerSlam by any stretch of the imagination. On TNA's YouTube channel, Gail Kim wins over Madison has more negative comments and more dislikes than Grado in the Bromance videos, which says a lot. Does it really? Oh, I'm going to have to read those now. That sounds funny. So Raquel is still hanging out with the Bromance. Why? Apparently because no one bothered to tell her that they were spying on her while she got undressed. And I guess she doesn't watch the show because she didn't find out on her own. Or worse, she saw it and doesn't care. Which means that she's happy being, just being a piece of meat. I don't know which one is more distasteful. Who would win, Wonder Woman or Jean Grey, Phoenix Force? Yeah, probably Jean Grey. Because Wonder Woman's powers are just physical. You know, the Phoenix Force is a cosmic entity. So, it's not really much of a contest there. And I say that being no fan of Jean Grey at all. But, love her or hate her, she's one of the most powerful beings in the Marvel Universe. It's one of the reasons why I don't like Jean Grey. She's become such a Mary Sue over the years. And like every storyline revolves around how fucking powerful she is. Like every storyline, every Jean Grey storyline ultimately comes back to the fucking Phoenix. It's like, after a while, I just felt, can't we just kill her and have her stay dead? No, because her whole thing is that she comes back to life over and over again. And now they're doing this thing where the original X-Men come into the present day. I think it's stupid. Okay, we know none of them... Damn it. Sorry. We know none of them are going to die, because if they die, then their present-day adult versions of those characters get blinked out of existence. So all the tension evaporates. And eventually they're just going to have to go back to their own time period where everything will get reset. So I just think it's dumb. I really wish they'd do something with all the new characters they've created, like Surge or Transonic or all those people. I'd like to see stories about them, but instead they give the original X-Men their own title. Why? It's dumb. This is one of the reasons why I'm not really reading the X-Men comics right now. But yeah, Jean Grey would beat Wonder Woman. The WWE Fourth Dimension Championship. Oh, don't give them any ideas. Do you think there's a reason to be worried about Suicide Squad? The movie is only 6 days away, and they still have not premiered it for critics. Hope they're not trying to hide it. Is that true? Ooh, that's not a good sign. I've heard positive things. The trailers look good. I know some people have seen it. I think it was like pre-screened for some people. And the people who've seen it seem to have been saying good things, or at least the ones I've heard. But if they're not screening it for critics, that's bad. That's not good. But I'll definitely see it. It looks like a fun movie. Plus, DC kind of needs a win at this point after Batman v Superman didn't turn out as well as many of us hoped. So they probably got a lot riding on Suicide Squad. So I'm crossing my fingers that this one works out for him. Plus, I don't want to see. I really want to see Harley Quinn's cinematic debut go well. I don't want to see them fall flat on their face with that. I really don't. I do think that giving away too much backstory on an interesting character like Rosemary may make her less mysterious, like those awful Rob Zombie remakes which ruined Michael Myers. I actually liked the first one. The sequel sucked, but I actually liked the first Rob Zombie Halloween. That's a personal preference, I guess. I guess they do run that risk with Rosemary by removing her mystique, possibly. But I think she's so interesting. I think she can rise above that. And there's so many different things you can do with a character like this. It just lends itself to so many possibilities that I don't think it'll be an issue for her. Plus, I mean, they could always retcon this later. Like, say she was just trying to lure Bram into a trap or fool him into doing something. Or like she was lying to him the whole time for some reason. Or maybe that never happened and she just made it up in her head because she's that crazy. And there are ways to get around that. I don't think it'll be an issue. I think Gale's fans confuse respect with burying the division. Making Gale look like Super Cena doesn't make her look good to fans, it just makes fans annoyed with her. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly. When the hell are they going to debut Marsh, Rocket, and Chelsea Green? Marsh Rocket said on Twitter that his debut was coming up soon, and Chelsea Green did a Q&A on Twitter yesterday. I asked her when her debut was. She said very soon. So they're coming up. Not sure when exactly. I wonder if right now is a good time to debut Chelsea, though, because if she debuted now, she just gets squashed by Gail Kim. Because that's what they're doing right now. Gail Kim is burying the entire Knockout division on her road to getting the Knockouts title back. So maybe they should hold off on Chelsea's debut until after they finish with that. Just to give Chelsea a fighting chance. Marsh Rocket, I don't know. He says it's going to be soon, so I'm sticking with that. Sasha Banks winning the title. Already answered that. Did you hear Charlotte is taking time off after SummerSlam? I heard something about that, yeah. She's had that title for a long time, too, so it's understandable if she'd want a break. Bad time for it, though. I mean, she was one of the first draft picks for Raw, and then she almost immediately goes on vacation. Might not endear her to management. Moose looked... Look. There goes the chat room again. And let's try to wrap this up in the near future because I'd like to go out and do some stuff. Moose looked really good, very athletic for his size, and that powerbomb and sky high on Drew was sick. Yeah, he's doing really well so far. With Lashley as X Division champion, why not just out Lee and Everett as a tag team? That's good. That's an excellent point. Because as long as Lashley has that title, none of the heel X Division guys really mean anything. So why not use them as a tag team right now? It makes a lot of sense. I'm all for Lashley getting all 3 singles titles and defending them all throughout Bound for Glory. The guy deserves it. I would have never thought that Lashley would be good on the mic. Yeah, he has gotten a lot better on the mic, hasn't he? I don't know where this Lashley has been hiding. Maybe it's just a comfortability factor. Maybe he's finally just playing the character he wanted to be. I don't know what it is, but he's improved so much. And as for Lashley getting all the singles titles, it does seem like that's the plan right now. I'm not thrilled about it because I don't think it's necessary. I see what it's going. I think what they're going for though. They want to just make this guy look like he's unstoppable. So, the upside is that the people who beat him for those titles get put over huge. But right now, you're kind of if he's going to be monopolizing all the titles, that kind of hurts everybody else for the time being. Do you think Sheldon Benjamin will have a better run in the WWE in his return? Oh, yeah, I guess he came back. He's on SmackDown now, isn't he? Honestly, no. I think, if anything, he'll probably just be a mid-carder. Maybe an enhancement guy to make other people look good. I don't think you should expect a huge push for him. I would not be surprised at all if if Chelsea's debut match was against Gail, just so Gail can continue her road to redemption. Road to redemption. What's she being redeemed for? She never had any big losses, for fuck's sake. Yeah, that could very well happen. It's kind of a weird thing. Some of these new knockouts, they debut, and they don't. Tina doesn't like to debut them strong. They start them at the bottom of the ladder, like Allie. Entertaining character, but when she gets in the ring, she loses. And it's like, well, how do you put over a new character like that? It's like, well, they're not. That's not the route they're taking. It's like, okay, we're going to start her at the bottom, and maybe we'll build her up later on. I don't really agree with that tactic, but that's the one they're going with. So maybe that'll happen with Chelsea. She'll debut only to lose to Gail, and then I don't know where you go from there with her. But maybe there's a plan for it. Who knows? Let's see. Do you think Sami Zayn should be in the U.S. title picture and win the U.S. belt at Slammiversary? At SummerSlam, rather. If that's what the writers are going for, if it were up to me, Sami Zayn would win the U.S. title at SummerSlam. How about that? Who's the U.S. champion right now? I don't even know. I forget. Well, he's one of the guys who should be going for the U.S. title, I guess. Is the feud with Kevin Owens still going on? Is that still a thing, or did they finish that yet? Yeah, sure. Put him in the U.S. title picture. Why not? Sienna isn't doing much, though she is just standing around with Maria. Yeah, that's the problem. It's one of those concerns I had when she came in. At first I thought, well, if she's with Maria, she's not going to be able to talk much for herself, which is bad because Sienna's great on the mic. And she's still subservient to Maria right now. So I would like to see her get showcased more on her own. But as long as Gail is still doing still doing Gail stuff, who are we kidding? No one else is really going to get showcased. No one else is really going to stand out. It's just going to be the Gail Kim show. The only other girls who really stand out right now are Maria because she's feuding with Gail, and Rosemary because she's doing something unrelated to the Knockout division. And yeah, so Sienna can't develop any momentum right now because that's not what they're focused on. They're focused on giving Gail Kim momentum. And Sienna, even though she's the champion, she doesn't get to do a whole lot. And Raw title belt name, already did that. Thoughts on Corey Graves as Raw's color commentator replacing the annoying ass JBL? Well, I've only seen one episode with Corey Graves on Raw, color commentator. I thought he was okay. Didn't think he was good or bad. I didn't really notice him, to be honest with you. So at least he wasn't noticeably bad. Rosemary and Allie are already over with the fans. Them not wrestling only makes the division look not as good as it could be. It'd be like signing Kaylee Ray and not having her wrestle for most of the year. I don't disagree with you. Unfortunately, the Knockouts don't get a whole lot of time right now, and what little time they do get is devoted to Gale. So you could argue that even if they were wrestling, they wouldn't be able to do very much. I think in order for the Knockout division to really progress and turn a corner, they got to get Gale off the show. They let her take a vacation for a while, do something, but that's not going to happen until after the Hall of Fame induction at the very least. And beyond that, we're just waiting for her to retire so the other girls can finally get the spotlight. So I'm not incredibly fussed about them not wrestling at the moment, because at least they can be entertaining that way and stand out that way. But if they're wrestling, they're just going to be second fiddle to Gail Kim like everybody else is. Would Chris Hero have been a draw if he did jump from NXT to the main roster? How would you have booked him? Chris Hero? If he jumped from NXT to the main roster like Finn Balor did, I think it's questionable. I think more people are probably familiar with Chris Hero, but to casual fans, they're not going to know who Chris Hero is. The guy who made his name in like ROH in Japan and stuff. Maybe if they'd done more to introduce him beforehand, like introduce him with video packages and stuff, to show us who Cassius Ono is. Hopefully he would have gotten himself into better shape, because I've seen Chris Hero lately. I've seen Chris Hero recently. It looks like the guy who ate Chris Hero. How would you have booked him? I don't know. Maybe put him in a feud with guys like Kevin Owens or someone. Fuck. Where am I? My guess is Bram rejects Rosemary and she sicks the decay on him. I don't think so. It's possible, but I don't know. The way it's going right now, it's like she's left the decay for Bram. Now, maybe that's a swerve. Maybe it's something else. I don't know, but I don't think it's going where you think it's going. How do you feel about the cruiserweight division coming back? Well, I don't know, because it hasn't come back yet. Ask me after we've seen it on Raw. This company traditionally has not showcased cruiserweights very well. Maybe it'll be different now. I don't know. But historically, they haven't had a good track record with cruiserweights. Marsh Rocket is 6'5". Do you think he can be flashy enough for the X Division? I don't know. I've never really seen him wrestle before. I watched one highlight video on YouTube. Seems like a pretty agile big guy. I don't know if necessarily. I don't think he fits for the X Division necessarily, but we'll see. Let's see what he does on the show first. Your thoughts on the Cruiserweight Classic? I haven't seen it. I do think it's odd that Suicide Squad has no reviews up when most comic book movies get reviews weeks or even months before they debut. That is strange, and it's usually what happens when the movie isn't that good and the studio doesn't want bad early reviews getting out, so they just don't screen it for critics. That's not a good sign. I'm still excited for Suicide Squad. I'm still going to see it, but my cautious optimism for the film is a lot more cautious now. So we'll see. Probably worried due to Batman v Superman backlash. Yeah, hopefully it's just that. Do you see Allie turning face? Because I would like to see her turn on Maria, because Maria has been making her do stuff that she doesn't want to do, and that's what I see Allie doing, being a good face. It seems like they are headed in that direction. I don't know if it's Allie turning face necessarily. I think maybe it might be Maria turning on Allie, because they have in recent weeks they've been showed how Maria is getting kind of annoyed with Allie sometimes. That's probably on a slow burn, but I think that's being done for a reason. And maybe after like Maria fires Allie as her assistant, maybe we'll see Allie more as a wrestler. Maybe she'll turn face. So who knows? I think that could be where they're going. Yeah. The guy Moose squashed is part of a really good team called the Juicy Product. The Juicy Product. That's a tag team name for you. The other member, JT Dunn, will also be in Impact. They were both at Extravaganza. That does not necessarily mean either of them have been signed. It means they're on TNA's radar. That's about it. Rusev is the U.S. champion. Oh, no fucking wonder I don't remember who the champion is. Why the hell are we deliberating this as in this Gail Kim killing the knockout division and winning the knockouts title, which I don't want to see at all? Hashtag go away Gail Kim. Yeah. Raquel needs to ditch the bromance and actually be friends with people that can improve her wrestling and won't treat her like trash. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Okay, get your final questions and comments in. I'm going to put the cutoff point in a minute. Buy or sell, Spider Trilogy or Amazing Spider-Man? You know, I have no great love for the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. I'm not a big fan of any of them, even the second one. I just think they're really campy and silly, and they were made for kids, basically. And I didn't like that. I was hoping for something more adult, like what you see in comic book movies nowadays. It was like Sam Raimi was trying to ape the tone of the Spider-Man comics of the 1960s. And so you got something that was really silly and goofy and shit. And I just didn't like the tone they went for. So I preferred... Damn it. Sorry. Damn it. Yeah, so I preferred The Amazing Spider-Man. Much preferred. I actually made a video about that back when the movie came out. Explaining all the reasons why The Amazing Spider-Man was better than Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. Amazing Spider-Man 2, that movie definitely had its problems, but I think there was a good movie there that was ruined by studio interference because they desperately wanted to set up a universe and set up that Sinister Six spin-off movie that will never happen. I liked parts of Amazing Spider-Man 2. I think there was a good movie hiding in there, but the studio ruined it. But yeah, I'll take the first Amazing Spider-Man over any of the Sam Raimi movies. Nikki Storm is going to debut on NXT soon. I should hope so. A lot of the NXT girls just wound up on the main roster. How good is Santana Garrett as a wrestler? She's very good. Was completely misused in TNA during her run there, but she's very talented as a wrestler. If Rosemary is just conning Bram because he rejected the Decay, do you think people will say that it was predictable? I don't think anything about this storyline is predictable right now. Are you surprised that Aries, Rune, and Joe did not get called up in the draft? No, not really. They haven't been in NXT that long, and I don't think Vince McMahon wants any part of quickly glorifying people who came from another company like TNA, because they were guys who made their names, who became stars in TNA. Well, you could argue that they were stars before. Well, Aries and Joe got famous in ROH prior to that, but that's where a lot of people know them from. And Vince doesn't like stars that he didn't create. So he's going to want to rebrand them and turn them into his version of what they should be, and maybe after that, then they'll go to the main roster. But am I surprised they didn't get called up? No, I'm not. Your thoughts on Spider-Gwen? I think it's stupid. It's fan fiction. That's all it is. It's fan fiction in comic book form. I think it's dumb. They think there's entirely too many spider people running around now. I like some of them. I think I'm glad that Miguel O'Hara is back as Spider-Man 2099. I like Jessica Drew a lot, but that's mostly just when Bennett is writing her. Spider-Man is probably one of, if not my favorite superhero of all time. I think the Miles Morales thing is kind of just whatever. I have a love-hate relationship with Miles Morales, though. So I think there's probably too many spider people running around here. Now there's Silk and there's Spider-Gwen. Spider-Gwen is dumb, guys. It's stupid. Not a fan. Will Jimmy Havoc be in Rosemary's barn? I doubt it. The guy's still injured. Who is your favorite superhero? If I had to pick one, probably Spider-Man. The Peter Parker version. Okay. Alright, guys, once I put the cutoff point in there, that's the sign that we're wrapping things up, okay? I know some people, you were probably typing out your comments when that happens, so I'm going to finish these last couple questions, and then we'll call it a day. Who will Gail's next victim be? I don't know. She said she was going to have to go through the entire division, so does it really matter? Either way, everyone's on our chopping block. Batman v Superman had the same issue with not a lot of reviews for it until the week it came out. Did it really? I was pretty sick at the time, so I wasn't paying a lot of attention to reviews or lack thereof. I didn't get to see that movie for a couple of weeks after it came out, so yeah. I'm sick and tired of Robbie E. treating women really badly. Him and Cookie broke up and he blamed Brooke for losing the Amazing Race. He got Velvet Sky fired and Feaster fired, and now he's creeping on Raquel. Wow, I never thought of it like that. Well, yeah, you got a point. His character has a history of kind of being a misogynistic asshole, doesn't he? I never thought of it that way. You got a good point there. Wow. What a dick. Huh. Hashtag fire Robbie E. Yeah. Okay, you know what? I think that's a good place to stop. Because I gotta get out of here and go do some stuff. So thanks everybody for tuning in today. Try to do this at the same day next week. I don't know if that's possible because I often have to work on weekends this time of year. and I don't always have a lot of notice before I have to work on Saturdays, but in the event that I have to work Saturdays, we'll move it to a Sunday, or failing that, Monday. So watch my Twitter for updates on when the next stream will be. If you don't see any updates, assume it's going to be on Saturday at the usual time, around 3-ish. And is there anything else? Yeah, I think that's it. So, yeah, thanks for tuning in. Same time next week, hopefully. Fingers crossed. I'll talk to you later. See ya. Bye.